Hey Jordan, welcome back. Welcome back to the Content Mines. How's it going?
Thanks Rob. It's going well. I'm back from my luxurious West Coast vacation.
West Coast vacation. Go to TwitchCon. How was that?
I did go to TwitchCon. It's kind of psychotic.
It seemed like that, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
It seemed kind of dark.
About it was just a little off.
We talked about this with our guest coming up, Carter. Does Carter have a last name, or is he just like Prince?
He's just like it's a Prince thing. He's the streamer known as Carter.
Okay, yeah. We talked a little bit about TwitchCon, but so we don't need to get too much into it now, but the vibes did seem pretty off. As you know, I am a big time kind of Twitch celebrity partnered streamer as well, and I considered going, but I think in retrospect, probably made a good call, giving that a miss this year.
Yeah, I was walking around the convention floor one day and I just heard like everyone was like whispering like, "Where's Rob? I wonder if Rob's here."
I'm not surprised.
Does Rob have a booth?
Yeah.
A lot of that going on.
Where is that? Where's the Friendship Triangle meetup conference?
Is there a Canadian corner? Am I at the wrong part of the floor?
I understand. It was very disappointing for everyone, but maybe next year, folks. I don't know. No guarantees. We'll see. I know I'm really highly in demand, so. Can't promise anything.
True. It's very true.
Sorry to anyone that shelled out the big bucks for TwitchCon, though, to see me, that I wasn't there. I apologize.
Or sorry if you shelled out the big bucks for TwitchCon and ended up in the hospital,
Yeah. Broken tailbone or whatever.
All around pretty fucked situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fucked. That video of Adriana Chechik breaking her back in the foam pit was extremely difficult to look at. Yeah. It was like really upsetting to look at. Jeez.
It's like it was 2 feet of foam.
Like a concrete floor.
On concrete floor. Because I interviewed the person who in that same pit dislocated her knee. So I just asked her, like, okay.
Yeah. This is not an isolated incident.
Was the padding? Yeah, it wasn't. That's the thing. That's where I think they're like really fucked. And I asked, like, okay, what was like the padding situation? And she was like, there wasn't any. It was just foam on concrete.
Jesus.
Insane, dude.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you didn't injure yourself or anything. That could have been.
Yeah,
it was ugly.
You had, how roller coasters have like height requirements. This had like a clout requirement, and
I just didn't quite.
I just didn't qualify.
That's rough. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, like what's your average concurrence as you sign this waiver?
Yeah. What are those engagement numbers?
How many emotes do you have?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Instead of going to TwitchCon, I was getting yelled at by NAFO. NAFO was coming after me. You know NAFO? You familiar with these folks?
I just learned what it was like yesterday, but I still don't fully understand. What is it?
I mean, my understanding is it's a CIA and NATO affiliated, like unpaid propagandist operation, which is hard to imagine because you'd think with the CIA and NATO and all the vast resources they'd actually pay some of these people. But no, a lot of these folks are just like taking time out of their day to post memes to anyone that steps out of line. And for my extremely, I guess, controversial stance, I didn't think it was that controversial at the time, but my controversial stance that like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be like memeing and celebrating over these like attacks, incinerating Russian civilians, because, in the past when we've done that and we've thrown like unequivocal support behind whatever proxies are fighting the Russians without any criticism or any kind of like effort to, ask ourselves like where that support's going or where the endless arms transfers are going. Historically in the past, that has actually led to some problems. So maybe that's something we should maybe take a look at or pump the brakes on. I didn't think it was that controversial, but apparently it was for thousands of people, including a lot of these apparently non-CIA affiliated NAFO types. We're very upset by this. Yeah, the volunteer poster brigade. Yeah.
That's pretty alarming. It's pretty offensive that you would not just unilaterally celebrate like governments memeing and like shitposting about like a civilian bridge. getting bombed.
Yeah, and it just
like psychotic.
It was really weird, and just, all being done like in English too, like basically for like entertainment for Western audiences.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just find that kind of weird and grotesque. And again, there's a lot of historical instances of the United States and, Western countries, Canada, giving their support to these kind of conflicts and having that eventually blow up in their faces. I didn't think it was that controversial to point that out. I don't think it's like pro-Putin or pro-Russian invasion of Ukraine to mention this kind of historical analogies, but people kind of read into all kinds of weird directions of what I was inferring with what I thought was a pretty straightforward sort of analogy about historically how that's played out in the past. But hey, this is where the discourse is at now, I guess.
It's always really funny to see when you have pissed people off on Twitter if I haven't seen the original tweet first, because we get a bunch of like angry tweets at the podcast.
They're calling the manager.
Yeah, they're like, they're trying to like get you fired, which like I've typically responded to these types of tweets with like, hey, thanks for bringing this to our attention. We just promoted Rob.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the G posting, like the G dunking on Cantor was like a really, really funny one.
Yeah. That was a classic.
But yeah, there's a couple things here, right? Like, yes, we should be careful about how we celebrate arming anybody around the world, because that has just never been consistently a safe long-term thing to do. And also on the response to this type of stuff and the Western response, it shows just how comfortable the West is with war because it's never fought here. And it also shows people's ignorance to and about just how horrifying war is. And I can't remember the quote exactly, but when Spencer Ackerman, who wrote the book Reign of Terror, which was my favorite book last year, when he was on our show, he left with a comment that like just has stuck with me ever since. And he talked about the dangers of gamification of war and people who trivialize war. And this is something obviously that like Chris Hedges has written about a lot as well. And it just like, for anybody who hasn't experienced it or seen it or covered it in real life, there is a detachment. And when you consume it through media, when you consume it through propaganda, you're only seeing a sanitized version of war. And that results in things like we saw this weekend, where people were like joking about a fucking bridge being truck bombed, where, or innocent civilians dying. And that shows how like people's understanding of war also dehumanizes the victims, and we find worthy victims and we find unworthy victims, right? For us, the war, and most, not us specifically, but for the West, the worthy victims are the Ukrainians. So we sympathize with them. We want them to win. When they die, it's a tragedy. And when Russians die, despite many of them being forced to serve even, in against their will, it's entertainment for us. We revel in their demise. It's just really grotesque. I couldn't believe some of those tweets from the Ukrainian government accounts. It's really fucking bizarre.
It was bizarre, yeah. And I just think it's just a dangerous situation, I think, when it seems like the only acceptable viewpoint about this here in Canada, the United States, is the only way that this conflict can progress is just with more escalation, more arms transfers, and that seems to be the only solution that's on the table. And anyone that suggests like maybe there should be some kind of de-escalation or some kind of negotiation, or maybe we should find some way to have a ceasefire for the war to come to an end so Ukraine stops being a war zone, gets shouted down and denounced as being like a Putin sympathizer or something. I think that's just a really dangerous situation. And like, lo and behold, when the only option on the table is to escalate the conflict, that's the only thing people are ever able to advocate for. Then when Russia retaliates with their own like horrific bombing of Kiev, And people sit around and wonder, like, how could they do this? How could they bomb? But it's like, that's what an escalation looks like. Yeah. I mean,
yes.
When you're just cheering on this endless escalation of this conflict, that doesn't just mean it's only going to escalate on one side. Like, both sides can engage in that. And that seems to be the only acceptable viewpoint that we have here. And that's kind of what I was trying to point out this weekend, and it just the level of pushback I got from it. I didn't really look at a lot of the tweets. Usually when people are getting mad at me on Twitter, I just kind of mute the thread and just go on with my day, and I don't pay much attention to it. But it really just speaks to how it's where the discourse is at, where pretty much any dissent at all from this just unified chorus of just we need to escalate, and that's the only option on the table. And the level of anger and outrage that people have when anyone kind of deviates from that, it's just kind of setting the stage for something really, really dark, and something that can only go to worse and worse places. And I would just hope that people start to realize how dangerous of a situation that is.
Absolutely. Oh boy!
I think we said we weren't going to talk about this. I was just planning on making fun of NAFO and how it was a CIA-backed, astroturfed propaganda operation, but. It's funny because they say, like, no, of course, yeah, we're CIA backed, like it's a big joke or whatever. But like John Cipher, a prominent quote unquote former CIA agent, has one of these like Shiba Inu profiles. He's all in on the whole NAFO thing. It's like it quite literally is affiliated with the CIA. So that's kind of messed up, if you ask me.
That's fucking weird. That's
the benevolent peacekeepers of the CIA, who have now also never done anything terrible themselves. Of course.
Can't say that.
No, yeah. Sorry, I don't want to get too full into the Putin propaganda here, the disinformatsia or what have you.
Exactly.
Anyway, we have, now that we've got our Carter coming on, he's going to get canceled now for these controversial
everything
statements.
that we just said, Carter agrees with.
He co-signs that, yeah, ahead of time. He just said, make sure you get my name on that as well.
Co-sign.
All those comments, yeah. He's going to be joining the show in just a few minutes. I would just like to remind you, for whatever listeners are still here, if you haven't turned off the podcast in disgust by now, please subscribe to the podcast if you can at theinsurgents.substack.com. Become a paid intern of The Insurgents by subscribing for $5 per month or $55 annually. Get access to the wonderful catalog of bonus episodes that we've done over the months and years. Really good stuff. Subscribe to the podcast. Is there anything else that we need to plug?
Real quick, Canadian Sweethearts, the band Counterparts, just released a new album, A Eulogy for Those Still Here. This is totally a break from our political conversations, but they're buddies of mine. It's fantastic. Go check out their new album, A Eulogy for Those Still Here. It's up there for albums of the year for me. They've put their heart and soul into this album for like a couple years, and they've been sitting on it for so long, and it finally just came out. The pandemic totally upended that industry. It fucking rocks. If you like good metalcore, this is the album for you. This album is so sick. I would encourage you to stop what you're doing right now, Rob, and go listen to it as well.
I will. I mean, I probably don't listen to enough metalcore anymore. That was more like teenaged me, but I trust your opinion on this. I know you're a connoisseur of this genre, so.
And this is just fantastic work. Like the whole album is just phenomenal.
I believe it. Yeah, so become an Insurgent subscriber, check out that album, and stay tuned. Famous Twitch streamer Carter will be joining the podcast right after this. You two were in sunny San Diego while I was being harassed by the NAFO hordes who were coming after me, and you two were laughing it up at the beach.
I mean, laughing it up, limping. I walked 20,000 steps one day, and I'm a streamer. I never go outside.
No, I know.
My legs were jello all weekend.
I thought you were maybe limping from some kind of a foam pit accident.
Oh, no.
Because I saw there was a lot of that going around also.
I managed to avoid the death pit. I actually didn't.
Yeah.
The whole time I was at TwitchCon, I did not go to a single booth.
Huh.
Because I had too much. It was like I'd get done with something and I would run to something else, like instantly.
I didn't go to any either just because My type of convention is you go to a booth and they've got like free shit. Like, give me a t-shirt, give me some stickers, give me a keychain.
Yeah.
I want some knickknacks and doodads. And this convention had nothing. It's like, here you can, look at monitors that you don't really need and are probably overpriced, or come over here, you can dislocate your knee or break your spine. Like, take your pick.
Yeah, it felt like you had to be like, it's a little classist if you ask me, but you had to be a partner or something. Like, because I'm a partner, so I got a bunch of free stuff. But like, even then, I didn't have the special star, the VIP star, which apparently
because there's
was
like a
pretty
secret
crucial.
tier. Yeah,
the upper echelon.
Damn.
Yeah, I was not a bicoastal elite for them to give me all the cool stuff.
This cool swag.
Yeah.
We had a partner pass, but Brett and Brooke from TYT took all the hoodies and shit. So Brett has a nice Twitch like Women's Alliance hoodie now. So good for him.
Wait, you guys got hoodies? Bro, I got a t-shirt that looks like a jersey that I wore when I was in T-ball.
I don't know how they got it, but like Brett came back with a hoodie one day and it said something like Women's Alliance, and he said he got it for free because of our badge.
Someone just sensed how much he respected women. They're like, this guy needs a hoodie.
He's just the ultimate woman respecter. It was made just for him. No one else got that hoodie.
Yeah, that's the thing. I am a Twitch partner, but I just TwitchCon. I don't know. I was kind of intrigued by the idea of going, but it's just so far away from me. And it's like, am I really gonna go to San Diego to go to TwitchCon? And when I asked myself that question, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, this is the first one I've ever gone to. I've been a Twitch partner since 2012, so 10 years. So the first ever, I might have been the first partner party ever, or the second one. There was one in Seattle, and it was me and like 10 other people, and that was it. I was like 18. It was like all the Twitch staff, because there wasn't that many back then, just in a arcade bar, just hanging out.
Yeah, you're a long timer. It was nice to meet some of our platform friends. Although Carter, you and I never actually got a chance to meet. I went to your panel and I was gonna say hey, but you were being like bombarded by people afterward. So I just said a quick hey to Lucid, and then we had to go do something, and then I never saw you again.
Yeah, I was so surprised actually how many people like at Twitch, which even though Twitch has like a giant chatting category, right? It's the biggest category on Twitch. Most of those people are like gamers, right? They're gamers who happen to chat, or they're, people who just do like, nerdy content. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm a nerd, right? And so the fact that there was so many people at the political things and how many people looked to be active was surprising to me. I think it's a byproduct, obviously, of like the time we're going through. Like, everything is more polarizing, and I think more people care now, maybe not than ever, but as of recent, since in my lifetime, about politics. So
yeah, that was good. I tried to stir the pot a little bit. I wanted I saw the back row was full of staff, so during the Q&A I wanted to ask about revenue splits and the streamer organization, just get something.
Of course.
Get something out there. So just some fun. And it's like, it's tough. I hadn't really given it much thought. I just figured, this might be a good question to ask. And you guys had all said it's like, it'd be very difficult. And it does definitely seem difficult. And I'm wondering, and the more I thought about it, the more I wonder if it's like having people as part of like something like IATSE or SAG-AFTRA or some sort of other entertainer union, like that might be a good way to get started. So you all get a better cut of the revenue that you generate from your work. It does seem like a huge uphill battle, but I think that might be something that could help you guys.
Yeah, I think you just incentivize it, right? I think you're on the right track. So I was a musician, as long with a streamer, and I saw more success in music, so I like stuck with music for a long time. And in music, like, if you want your music to be protected, you register with a performers' rights organization, right? There's like CSAC, BMI, then there's like Sonic is like a European one. There's like one for all different countries, and they all kind of talk, right? And that's how you get different kinds of royalty and how you get paid and credited. And also, like, they'll go to bat, or they'll have the RIA and their lawyers go to bat for you, right? And it feels like as streamers, like, you just have to put the pressure onto it, because optics obviously for Amazon is everything, because they're giant, right? So they just care about stock price. It's not like in reality they're going to lose money, but they just want to look good. They don't want to be, Comcast, which is rebranded and, scattered itself across the country like a mutating virus. They want to like at least have some semblance of an image. So I think them maybe like if you like sign a partner contract or an affiliate contract, like part of that is you have to have like I think like a creator ID would be cool. Maybe something that is tied to you, because you have that when you're an artist, you have like your artist name, which is tied to like this thing called an IRSC when you put out a song, and maybe like a content creator ID or like a channel ID, which means that you are a protected creator, meaning you can unionize, right? Or whatever. It's easier to, they have everyone in a database. You can like send out a mass communication or whatever to truly see change, right?
Yeah. I would love to see any update or change on that front. I don't know if you both saw, but the Department of Labor announced yesterday they're going to change, or they're going to push for changes to how contract workers are classified, because so many gig economy companies are just exploiting that loophole, despite, especially for things like Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, that is like, those people are definitely staff. Their entire value and wealth is derived from those people driving their personal cars to run errands. That's where the revenue generation is. So classifying these people as contractors is absolute bullshit. And hopefully, if successful, those people will get better wages, better worker protections, and ultimately benefits. So let's hope that leads to changes across other industries as well.
Yeah, aren't European countries like already kind of doing this? I think so. I'm trying to remember. I think there was an article about like the UK maybe trying to like make Uber drivers classify, or at least have some form of protection.
That'd be great.
I did see like Uber and Lyft coming out with statements saying like our employees prefer to be contractors because of the flexibility. And it's like, I'm sure that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in America.
It allows them. It gives them the flexibility for their fourth job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when they break their legs and they're not covered at all, or they get into their Uber accident and, uninsured driver just ruins their life financially forever.
Yeah. I definitely can say like with Twitch, like it would be nice to maybe have a sick day or two. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I do wish. I mean, I stream 200 hours a month, and it is sometimes. Well, okay, so I don't know if you guys know about this. There's a new thing called an ad incentive. So as a streamer, they give us like a lump sum of money, how much they guess we'll make off of ads for Twitch, right? And like they'll give us 50% or whatever, and it's called an ad incentive. And you have to stream like a certain amount of hours and run so many ads per hour, and you get a lump sum, right? So, and I can talk about this, like it's not under NDA or anything, but like I've had a month where it was like $1,500, and I've had months where it's like $300. But the thing is, the hour requirements are sometimes insane, which is my own undoing because I stream so much. So they just kind of average, right? But like I had to stream 167 hours or 157, one of the two, last month to get that bonus.
That's a lot of hours.
Yeah, it's live every day. Like there is no such thing as a day off.
Yeah.
That's something I think more people need to understand, because it looks from the outside, if you aren't familiar with the industry, you think, oh, that's easy. Like anyone could do that.
Yeah.
Like
just go live.
Is draining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I do around 50, 60 per month. And it's like, that to me is like, oh my God, I can't even fucking fathom doing more than this.
Yeah. I started streaming twice a day 2 months ago. And it's been rough. One thing is about Twitch, though, is I will say this. It is, I don't want to say easier. It's a different battle than like YouTube. In YouTube, you can make a video and kind of live off of that, for lack of a better term, for like 2 weeks, right? It'll run its course and it might get popular again in the future. And you can kind of get away with it, or you can stockpile videos, right? You could like record a bunch one day and like have 3 videos to go for the next 3 weeks, right? You spend a week editing or whatever, and then maybe 2 weeks you have one. On Twitch, it's not like there is no getting ahead. It is off the cuff, fly. You sacrifice obviously being able to edit and stockpile. But it's always fly. It's like off the fly. I'm just going to go live. I'm going to do whatever,
And the moment you do take a break, you see the numbers dropping like in front of your eyes. Like,
yeah,
it's gamified in such a way to just torture you the moment you stop delivering them that income.
I do think, because I've been doing it for so long, I think that has gone away to a little bit, to some extent. But I still think there's probably a hill, right? If you're in like, let's say if you're over 200, 300 viewers, I think your threat of just falling to irrelevancy is gone. Unless you take obviously extended like a month off. If you take a month off, yeah, you're probably going to come back. Everything's different. You're not going to know what the current thing is. It's keeping up with trends. But if you take like a week off now, you might come back to even more people because they'll wonder where you went. There is that little bit of FOMO that is there for viewers. I mean, I'm guilty. I'm a Twitch watcher just as much as I am a Twitch streamer. And I think back in the day, it was a lot worse, right? Because Twitch was so new. People didn't care about the creators really. They just cared about watching. It was just an experience. Because like I was one of the like very top back in the day, and I took like a year off because you couldn't live off Twitch. There was no sub buttons. This is pre-Amazon. Twitch didn't really know how to monetize super well. So creators just couldn't make any money. It was all just a funnel. And what I found is I took that year off. I came back and I was at 0. And I was at 200, 300 before that. Literally 0. I had one person. So I think it's getting better. I do think I mean, I had a meeting with the CEO. I didn't sign an NDA, so I'll talk about it. I had a meeting with the executives at Twitch. And it is very classical, like tech CEO who isn't really a tech CEO, who just feels like everything you say to him, he's like, yeah, I totally understand. But in his head, he's like, I don't understand. What are these guys saying? Like, what do you mean you need less hours? Or what do you mean better discoverability? Or you give them a solution and the thing they go is like, oh, we tried that. It doesn't work. It's like, you tried it for a week in one country, or one region. You didn't try it. Like, we all know that there's completely different habits, especially when it comes to online media in different regions of the world, right? Like I know for a fact, like India probably has a way higher like retention rate on YouTube. I don't want to say for a fact, but it's what I see in my own analytics, right? Is the retention rate is way higher in like India or in other countries like in Asia. There's like bigger analytics for like gaming content than there is just chatting, right? Or things like that. Like it varies so much by region and culture that for them to just be like, yeah, we tried that in one spot, that doesn't work. It just feels like a cop out. Like they just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that just seems deeply unsurprising for an Amazon owned company.
I mean, that's it. I mean, sometimes we complain about revenue and everything, but did we consider that maybe Jeff Bezos needs like a 30th bathroom in his mansion?
Yeah, he needs to build another rocket or 7.
Yeah. So maybe we shouldn't be so selfish.
Yeah. Why not?
How about
that? I'm working on a piece about just kind of my general takeaways from the convention. Just like, I just left with this really bad feeling. Brett summed it up just the best, and I'm going to just totally steal his line because it's just perfect. Everyone walking around, like, it just gave me the same impression, and it was like all of these people who, and you could like see kind of what level they were on their badge. So I would see like community members, like chatters or viewers and like affiliates, and like so many people were just walking around with like selfie sticks or monopods, just like filming and streaming everything, and like they just want to make it. They want to be the next big thing. And like Brett said, it is a convention that is just ultimately the line for American Idol. Like everyone is just there trying to make it, and it left me with such a weird feeling because like just to think about like what you guys were just talking about, like the exhaustion and the burnout from streaming so much. That platform doesn't want anything to change, because like the more people fear like slipping if they take a day off or a week off, like the more they're going to put in, and that ultimately benefits that company. So you have all these people just grinding and grinding and grinding, and many people never really make it to like a sustainable level of income just to do this on their own. It's very rare. So it just like, it benefits Amazon, it benefits Twitch, and everyone just wants to make it. And I think it's like really sad, because that the entire creator economy preys off of that feeling. You have these like outliers, these people who have these really sustainable careers. Like on Twitch, you've got like Hassan and XQC and people like that who are at the top, and then on YouTube, like the Paul brothers and a few other like Mr. Beast type people. But all those kids watching it just want to be the next big thing, and they'll do anything to do it. And they just like delude themselves, and it's really sad that this platform is just able to just take advantage of that sentiment.
Yeah, it's extremely predatory. I have said, like, I've said this before, but the predatory nature of it is something that unfortunately I think is unavoidable, because there will always be people who want to create for others, right? There is those who want to create for themselves. Like when I make music, I guess I call myself like the duality, right? When I make music, I'm making music that I want to listen to, right? Like it's like this is something that bangs. Like I like this is something I want to listen to. But when I'm streaming, it's like I'm doing this because I love chat. Like I love being able to interact. I love being able to do all this. And like even for me, like I'm not a small fish, but I'm not a big fish. Like I barely make it. Like I can survive, but like forget about saving, right? Like the only reason we could go to TwitchCon is because my girlfriend had some savings from like a year ago. She had like a big deal on TikTok, and like we just saved that money and then used that to buy our TwitchCon stuff. And even as me and the 0.01% of Twitch, it's like I struggle, and they don't do anything to like even out. Twitch is extremely top heavy, and that's okay. Like I don't think you can avoid that much, but they could at least attempt by like showing other people or giving, you know, a more diverse algorithm that shows you, and instead of just bombarding you with like, here's the top, this is the top, go to the top, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the one thing that everyone I know who is like affiliate or like smaller partner level have all experienced. There is just zero on platform referral. It's you log on, here's a bunch of people we picked for the carousel. Most of them are really popular already. Here are some recommended channels who are all really big. And then over on the left, you get some suggested channels, which are like the biggest channels if you don't already follow them, like the XQCs, Hassans, those kind of people. But never do you see just a slate of random, 20, 30 concurrent average viewers to boost people who wouldn't otherwise get found if they didn't have a platform elsewhere. That's the only way it seems like you can grow, is if you have an audience on another platform and bring them to Twitch.
Yeah, that's basically the only way I was able to ever get my foot in the door.
Yeah, also the carousel, like we act like people, I don't know if you're, I don't know the word to use. If you're unaware, you would think that carousel is a big deal. The front page, right? Like, oh, all of a sudden I have 13,000 viewers, like I'm looking right now. And then you go into the chat and there's like 10 people talking, right? And it just inflates it. The best way is to like, I don't know how you would incentivize it, but just get rid of it. I think the best way to do a front page model is actually how Twitch used to do it, and I don't know why they got rid of this, but there used to be it would just show the categories, like the top watch category. I mean, this doesn't get rid of the top heavy problem, but it's a little bit better. It'd be like, here's the top categories, here's the top 6 streamers in each category, and it's like, that's already better. And then you could just have a recommended section right below that, but instead they have like the channels we think you like, and it's every channel I already follow, right? Like there's no diversity. It's only channels I follow. It's it has nothing to bring me. It doesn't show me anybody who might be something different or diversified. YouTube falls prey to this too. Like YouTube falls prey to this in meaning that like at least the recommended tab can bring you, if you like get into obscure YouTube, you'll find more obscure things, whereas Twitch isn't like that. Like if you click on an obscure Twitch channel, the recommended is just going to be the biggest streamers doing the same thing, just not obscure, Yep.
Should we like introduce Carter at some point?
I guess, yeah.
That could be a good thing to do. The professional broadcasters over here.
We just got 20 sucked minutes into the conversation, man.
It's just too engaging. Yeah,
it is. Our guest today is Carter, streamer on Twitch, musician. You can find him at twitch.tv/Carter. Carter, thank you for joining us. We ask everybody the same question when we start these conversations, which I guess now we should have asked you 20 minutes ago. But now it's your turn. Carter, are you a gamer?
I am. I've been actually Overwatch till about 10 seconds before I joined this call.
How's the new one?
This is the new one, right?
Dude, Overwatch was my game. I put more hours into Overwatch than I think any game in history, and I'm happy it's back to what it used to be before I quit playing, or at least as close as it can be while being different.
It's weird how the original game is just you just can't play it anymore. Yeah. Isn't that kind of odd?
That was the odd thing, is like they don't have like a classic queue or anything. I was like, well, I guess they just don't want people to play that trash because they just, I don't know, there's too many things. They ruined it. They ruined the old one, and this just feels like the biggest balance patch ever. It's fun to play again. I'm enjoying it.
I didn't put a lot of time. I played a little bit of Overwatch, but never put a lot of time into it. Maybe I can think about getting into this new one.
Yeah, I like it because I get to play as a cop and I get to do brutality. An Overwatch
Rob,
cop.
you'd love that.
Big time, yeah.
I put maybe 10 hours into the first one. I got it on sale during the pandemic, but I was just all Fortnite during the pandemic. So
it was bad.
And I still am. So
you joined at the worst time. It was good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was good. And there was a hero release named Brigitte and just broke the game. Just broke it. It was just not fun anymore. So
I'm still on Fortnite as well.
How
what do you think of the new season?
It's all right. I'm not crazy about all the Chrome stuff. It's fine. I don't know. It's kind of cool, I guess.
The only time I play
Carter,
Fortnite is with
it?
Jordan. I don't play.
I like it. I like it. It's fun.
But yeah, we were talking about creators. You know what's funny? I guess shift a little bit of gears, but stay in like the content creation realm. You guys have heard? Okay, I'm gonna sound like a conservative here, but have you guys ever heard of like the alt-right pipeline on YouTube? Like everyone knows.
Yeah, sure, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I actually did a test on my stream where I call it YouTube speedrunning, which is where I try to find a creator or like a type of video by just starting on like a VPN, like incognito tab, right? Cookies cleared. I'm a ghost. And I go to YouTube and I try to find like either like a specific creator or a specific type of video. So like obviously like finding some things like anime or whatever was pretty easy. And then we were like, okay, let's find specific people. So I was like, all right, let's try to find like Hassan, right? Hassan has a giant YouTube presence. There's about 1 million clip channels. It took like an hour and 20 minutes to find Hassan. So then I was like, okay, let's do conservative. Like, let's pick like, what is the inverse Hassan? I was like, okay, Ben Shapiro. It took us longer. It took us an hour and a half to get to a Ben Shapiro video. But the difference was to get to a Hassan video required me going through like pretty normie content, right? Like just like reaction videos and like, cut videos or whatever. Just nothing that was like really political led me to Hassan. But the Ben Shapiro stuff, it's like an hour of that was just clicking on Fox News. Like I got to Fox News in about 10 seconds. And then it was like the craziest Fox News clips, like Great Replacement, the like Great Reset stuff, or why Alex Jones is actually the Messiah,
Okay.
So I just find it
that was
interesting.
my video, actually, that one. Yeah, and it is interesting. I wonder if that's something they tweaked too because they were getting so much criticism over it. Because I have done similar experiments, and I remember looking for like, as an experiment, just like searching for videos about feminism and how many clicks it would take to get to like top 10 feminist cringe compilation being owned and stuff like that. And it was very easy to find that. And then from there, then you're in the pipeline, and then you're into Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and all the faves, But I wonder if that's something that's been tweaked because they've taken so much criticism over it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, though, I didn't go back to the homepage, and I opened up like that window again, and I clicked on the homepage on accident. And I hadn't found like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, or anything. And my homepage was like just Daily Wire, like PragerU, Daily Wire. So it might just be the recommended tab is a little bit different, and your homepage is like, actually, these are specific creators. Look at this man with a beard who hates trans people. Please watch this. So I think I think the pipeline it definitely gets your toes in way earlier on crazy like right-wing type stuff though. Like you dip your toes way before you'll dip your toes in any leftist ideas.
I worry about that in general just because there isn't really the same like counterpunch on the left that the right has, because the right has just been investing in this stuff for years before on an organizational level like Dems and C4s and PACs realize like, oh shit, like this is something we need to do. And I can't, other than like Gravel Institute, but those were like two kids that started something themselves. There's nothing really on the left other than TYT that has a big lefty YouTube presence. Like it's literally just TYT.
Yeah, I think Gravel's a really good, because Gravel was created as to be a counter to PragerU. Like if you read their mission, or like not even their mission, you go back to like their second video was like, why PragerU is dangerous. And it was a voiceover by the Bob's Burgers guys. John, I think his name is.
H. John Benjamin.
There you go. It's a really like good video with like no views. And I think it comes down to two factors. I think the reason the right is so successful is, first of all, they have no problem taking like terrible money, oil money, drug money. like pharmaceutical drug money. They have no
a lot of those guys
problem
they're
doing
basically the PR arm of like fossil fuel companies.
Exactly. Yeah. And like if you need union busting, okay, let's just get Ben Shapiro to talk about how evil unions are, and whatever. And also on the left, we all recognize this. Like if you're a left person, is like for some reason we don't like to unify on common ground. Like we don't like to. We like to argue why like our idea of getting to that common ground is more important than the other person's, or like what we should do. Whereas the right is like, no, our common ground is like racism, and like we may want to do racism differently, but it's racism. So we're just all going to like hype each other up. Charlie Kirk hypes up Daily Wire, or is like friends with Candace Owens or Ben Shapiro or whatever. And they don't really ever like diversify away from, or they don't ever like really poke at each other to any meaning capacity.
Candace Owens has had quite the week. That was one thing that happened while we were in San Diego, the fucking Kanye anti-Semitism bullshit. Yeah. Good Lord, what's he on? That's someone who just needs someone in his life to tell him to stop and just to get help. But like, he's surrounded by enablers and people who just want to be in his circle and yes men, and like no one is there that he takes serious or listens to just be like, just take him by the shoulders. I'm like, dude, you gotta fucking knock it off right now.
Well, it seems like anyone that does reach out to him, he screenshots their DMs and posts them on Instagram, and then frames it as being part of some conspiracy against him.
Yeah.
Did you watch his
Jews
interview?
Are telling P Diddy to to text Kanye. I didn't. Did you?
Yeah, I think I have a conspiracy. Maybe a little psychoanalyzation. Okay.
All right.
So when Kanye's mom died, I don't know if you guys remember, he kind of went a little crazy. Right?
Yep.
His mom was his rock. If you've ever seen his documentary, I've only seen clips of it. I've never watched the whole thing. But he talks about how his mom like made him, and like everything relies on his mom. And then after his mom died, his dad became a bigger part of his life. And in this interview, he literally mentions that like his mom was like the Democrat, like left. Like, I mean, she sounds a little more left than a Democrat. She like talked about like systemic racism and all that stuff. But his dad was like a diehard conservative. And I think without his mom, he's like latching on to someone, and he's like latching onto his dad, who apparently didn't like his mom, because in this interview he was talking bad about his mom, like he was going in on her. And it was just so surprising to me to see a man who like talked about how much he loved his mom and like how much his mom did for him and how great of a woman she was, to like all of a sudden like, nope, she sucks. She was a dumb demon rat. She didn't, she was wrong. She was just trying to like indoctrinate me. And I think that this has come from that. I think a lot of what we're saying is like echoing sentiment, like you said, of people, yes men around him. And this time it turns out that his biggest hype man is like his father or something.
Well, and the amazing thing too is like both with Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro, they're all so like happy to have this big A-list celebrity coming over to the conservative side.
Yeah.
That Tucker Carlson edited out all the psychotic anti-Semitic stuff that he was saying out of the interview and tried to kind of present it as normal. And then you have Ben Shapiro, who, like, when Ilhan Omar breathes, talks about how anti-Semitic she is for, like, saying maybe we shouldn't be giving billions of dollars to Israel so they can, like, blow up Palestinian kids. But then he's, like, willing to overlook Kanye's comments about vast Jewish conspiracies to silence him and stuff. And he's like, no, actually, this is okay that he's doing that. It's like, cool.
It's insane. Good values. You could be like, yeah, Palestinians are dying unjustly. And Ben Shapiro's like, you're an anti-Semite. You actually are a Holocaust denier, everything. Literally, Kanye West comes out and is like, well, actually, the Jewish people are greedy or whatever. And he's like, well, he's just saying that because it's his trope. He's just kidding. Or like, he didn't really mean it. And I can understand he just has he has bipolar disorder. We must forgive him.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? Why can we overlook this? Also, Candace Owens was literally like, yeah, he was spitting. And Ben Shapiro just doesn't mention her. Candace Owens disappeared.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
On the dad thing, that does seem right. Like you said, he's like, comfortable with his dad now and close with his dad. Also, I think one of his Instagram like text screenshots was his dad like laughing about some of the stuff he said, or it was the White Lives Matter shirt. Like, so I think that does seem right. I mean, and also that he's bad mouthing his mom seems like wildly out of character, because like everything about him, including his most recent album, was just like, I love my mom. I'm a mom lover.
Yeah.
Maybe not like an Oedipus thing, but like, you know what I mean?
I think he's on his divorced dad arc. I think he is bonding with his dad over divorceness or whatever, being a single dad. I think they bonded over that, and we're like, yeah, that's right. We're going to buy a Corvette. Well, I mean, he has a lot more money. Buy 100 Corvettes,
I just saw a tweet from about 10 minutes ago. JP Morgan is like cutting him off as a customer. So he's just like, he's going to start losing so much shit for what he said. Like, I think Adidas wants out. JP Morgan wants out. Like, all these people who have like bankrolled him and like supported him and financed his operations are just fucking cutting him off. Like, this really could be one of the final nails in the coffin for this guy.
Yeah. I also, as like a musician, or I guess like as like a, like not me being a musician, but as him being a musician, like we think of Kanye having like unlimited money and just being extremely wealthy. But I bet you most of it is tied up in assets. Like just knowing how like those people operate, like celebrities, like the Johnny Depp thing was a big eye opener for a lot of people, like finding out that he was actually broke and just like kind of living off clout. Like, I think he'll be fine, obviously. I think he'll have plenty of friends who are willing to like bankroll him or whatever, or whoever, you know, well, now the right wing will.
Yeah.
But
well, it's like a lot of them are counting on the millions continuing to roll in indefinitely, right? And everything's tied up to the with the understanding that that's going to continue. That gravy train is going to continue to roll.
Yeah, I think it's surprising how much we overvalue. I mean, it's not surprising because there is astronomically wealthy people out there, but like celebrities, we overvalue their wealth sometimes so unimaginably because it's such a status thing. I mean, that's obviously a byproduct of like the capitalist system we live in, but like we value, or we like put these celebrities because they're so well known, they must have infinite money. It's like, no, but like they are in the upper class and they get like free stuff and they'll be fine forever. But like he'll feel it. I definitely think he'll lose some agency, you know? I don't know how else to describe it, but he'll lose his ability to just like spend money, right?
Speaking of someone else that's going to lose their ability to spend money, I don't know if you know where I'm going with that segue, but the Alex Jones verdict.
I just saw that. Oh.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What is like 965 mil? Yeah.
$965 million in damages to the families that suffered from his false claims in 2012 about Sandy Hook Elementary School.
Man, it's like you can't even get your deranged fans to harass parents of murdered children anymore. What is this country coming to? This woke nonsense.
Speech.
Yeah.
But like, here's what I don't understand. First of all, no one's ever going to see any of that money. And
that is probably true, yeah.
Dude, the Alex Jones thing, I've seen amongst our sphere, like of people like in our like, you know, adjacent to us or whatever, is like people are like, he is so incredibly wealthy. Like, I think Alex Jones is probably not very good with money. I think he's probably not that good with money, considering there hasn't been like more expose about like all the money he has. There's only been the one thing where they made like $800,000 a day for like 2 months, which don't get me wrong, is fucking insane. But like he claims to have put it all back into the business, which if comes out true, like that's gone. Like he is, unless he's got a real good accountant, I think this will hurt. I think they picked a good amount to sting.
Been through a divorce as well. That probably didn't help.
Yeah. I almost had an interview with Alex Jones right after that. So close. Really? My girlfriend had somehow got in contact with his like booking manager or whatever, and they were texting back and forth. Or no, it wasn't the divorce trial. It was the first Sandy Hook. Sorry, it was like the very first thing, right before anything had been decided. He hadn't even gone to court yet, and they were just talking about it. And so I was gonna do it on my stream. I was like, this is gonna be the biggest stream ever. And then the verdict came out that like the first one that he's gonna like have to go to trial, ghosted. Oh, it would have been so good.
I remember I got invited to go on InfoWars one time with Owen Schroyer, the B team, one of my online nemesis.
Is
but
he
I didn't end up doing
What happened to Paul Joseph Watson? Is he still kicking around?
I don't know. I think he's distanced himself from the whole thing because I think when the whole Sandy Hook controversy was going on, not to give too much credit to Paul Joseph Watson, another one of my online nemesis, but I think he was one of the guys going like, maybe we should tone down on some of this Sandy Hook stuff, and kind of sensed that which way the winds were blowing and kind of distanced himself from it. But Owen is a diehard. Owen is like in the going down with the ship. Like we should ask him where he was on January 6th. He was at the Capitol.
He was there.
He was there? Oh, shit.
Yeah, I think he got charged. Owen.
Yeah.
Wait, have you guys seen all
I think they also did like a man on the street. Someone recently did a man on the street interview, like not knowing it was him. Like one of the major networks a couple months ago, where like, oh, Austin resident Owen Schroyer had this to say, and like they're in a local news broadcast. I love that clip though of him like just totally misreading your tweet about bringing illegal ballots into the country. Just honestly, just incredible moment.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild time.
Printing it out and then like trying to dramatically pick it up as it slips off the table.
He printed out my tweet and was reading it out on InfoWars. I was like, this is what is happening right now.
I
It was
think
one of
that's
the most
when I
surreal
started
moments.
I think that's a trend I've noticed. Remember the CIA guy I was talking about earlier, Johnny Harris. He does in his videos, he always has like a ton of paper and maps and like reads things, like physical objects.
Official.
Yeah.
That's what I think I'm gonna start doing for my stream. Before stream starts, I'm just gonna print off a bunch of random like words. Like what's that filler text they use on webpage? Like
Lorem ipsum.
Lorem ipsum. I'm just gonna print off like 100 pages of that and just start highlighting
That's
shit
smart.
while I'm streaming and be like, you see here in this tweet, he was not there on January 6th. He was, speaking of January 6th.
You need to segue it with like, this just came across my desk. This is interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I need to have my
My producer just handed this to me over here.
I'll have a button on my desk that like buzzes my girlfriend in her studio room and just like buzz it and have her walk in and hand me some lorem ipsum and be like, this just came in hot off the press.
Breaking news.
Speaking of January 6th stuff, have you guys, I don't know, do you follow like there's like this lady on Twitter who puts out like hog TikToks and they're just like insane. Like some are like the Civil War is coming, but every day there's like 3 or 4 of self-reports of like people that were like at the Capitol or like in the Capitol that like decided, oh, it's been a year or two, I could post this on TikTok, no one's gonna come for me. That's their last post. That's like their last one.
Well, it's because that's the thing. It's like a lot of those people that did the January 6th thing, they were doing it for the clout, right? They were doing it for the live streams and for all the likes and stuff. And even though they know it's risky legally, they're like, I have to tell people that I was there because it makes me cool in these like conservative, weird online hog circles.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how like you tend to think of like online leftists or like terminally online leftists, but I think like there's like that boomer generation that's discovering TikTok, like conservative boomers, and it's like content brain has hit them hard, like their 2012 content brain. I
don't feel bad for these people, but I do think it speaks to how, again, to go back to the platform thing with Twitch, like you're constantly in this grind and you think that like, oh, I just got to do a little bit more. I got to get the best content. Got to do something a little bit more edgier each time. Just, and I'm going to make it. I'm going to be the next big Candace Owens. I'm going to be the next big Ben Shapiro for them. I'm going to be the next big, I don't know, whoever the fucking live stream people, right-wing people are.
There is none.
They're all on like Rumble or
They just can't last. They can't last on Twitch. It's not because they're being silenced. It's because they come out and be like, well, actually, the vaccine is giving you nanobots,
That's true, though. But
there was a big one. I miss him. There used to be a guy who streamed. I used to like dedicate a segment of my stream once a week because he would stream on like Wednesdays. So Thursday morning would come on and we'd do VOD review of this guy named Phil. I'm not going to give his whole name because that gives him clout. No free clout.
Yeah.
And
sorry, Phil.
He would like come on, and he was a flat earther, by the way. And he would come on and he'd be like, you see, I actually know how to decode Q's messages and like tell us what they were on stream. He'd have like 7,000 viewers. And then one time, the real banger is he comes on stream, he goes, chat, today we're going to watch a documentary. And it was about how an astigmatism allows you to see different dimensions. And you can't have, it was obviously just JQ stuff. You can't have a specific kind of blood that happens to come from Israel, otherwise you can't see these dimensions, and that they're hiding the ice wall or whatever. And it was it just made sense to me, like the content brain that these guys could have if they just, because he was making it up on the fly, like a lot of it. You could tell he was just like a story, like writing fanfic, kind of like Donald Trump fanfic. It's like, man, imagine if these people just wrote for Hollywood. They'd be so good. But instead they're telling us how this is real. Like they can't separate it.
Yeah, I looked into a lot of those guys as well, especially around the time that like January 6th was happening and the whole like transition to the Biden administration. All the people that were telling their audience to like, no, Donald Trump's still the president, and really it was a twin. It was not Biden that was sworn in.
Yep.
The real swearing in was in the White House, was Donald Trump. And it's amazing how many of these people have come from like the sort of metaphysical like world of like crystals and healing and that kind of stuff, and transitioned into that Q content because they could see that's where the audience was and that's where the money was.
Yeah, I remember when crystal mommies were like, you know, wearing BLM shirts, and now they're telling me that, you know, Q is actually right and that Donald Trump is controlling Joe Biden from the shadows, which makes no sense to me because, like, wait, you get mad at Joe Biden for doing things, but Donald Trump's in control. Like, I'm so confused.
If he's doing it, you should be happy.
Yeah. Or the best one, the biggest, this is very common in Q circles, is that Canada is actually just America too, and Donald Trump is in control of Canada, and he's organizing up in Canada under the shadow to hide from the swamp or something.
Yeah. Well, he did the whole trucker convoy,
yes,
of course.
Exactly. He was driving.
They're our new government now, yeah.
So
that's
it's surprising.
Correct. That's actually true.
That is factual information. It's surprising, exactly. Like how many, bro, our brain rot into Canada has like, I feel like ramped up.
Well, I think Canada's always, because like, I'm Canadian, I'm here in Montreal, even though Quebec doesn't really count as Canada. But I mean, I think Canada's always been very underrated as a weird right-wing country. We've kind of flown under the radar under this guise of like politeness and not being as wacky as America. But Canada, I mean, one of Canada's biggest exports is weird right-wing demagogues, you know, from Jordan Peterson, the Lauren Southern types. You know, we've got even fucking Steven Crowder is Canadian because he's from the South Shore of Montreal, even though he's this big American patriot flag waving dipshit.
Tom
now
McDonald.
He's fucking Canadian. Yeah, exactly. So I think Canada's always flown under the radar as a really reactionary right wing country. It's just now it's being exposed more recently, but I think it's exposing something that's kind of always been there.
Yeah. Have you guys speaking of that? Have you seen like there's like a big plan for like there's like 2 or 3 states or maybe more that want to speaking of seceding, you reminded me when you said Quebec, want to secede and join Russia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So apparently there's like some states that decided they want to be Russian now. And Russia, or maybe they haven't decided, but Russia said that they would invite them to become part of Russia. And it's just, what the fuck?
Was it like the Alabama People's Republic or something like that? Yeah, or
something like that. Liberty of the South or some, you know, racist organization probably.
Yeah. My what I want to do is I want Quebec to separate from Canada, and I want Vermont to separate from the United States and form a super state.
Oh, yes.
Quebec, Vermont, and become a global superpower and dominating the maple syrup trade. And
I already thought Vermont was part of Canada.
It should be.
Yeah. I always
This is what
assumed.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is my argument.
I'm sure the French Canadians are going to love that. They're just going to love integrating part of America into a new super state. They're just they're so cool with non-French speakers as is. I'm sure they're going to love Vermonters.
I think they'll be sold by just helping to destroy both America and Canada simultaneously. That maybe you can get them on board with it.
Hey,
I'm going to work on it anyways.
If the Canucks have a good season, maybe they'll be just placated.
Yeah.
Hockey's back. I'm just very excited about that.
I've been to a hockey game. I've never in my life watched hockey outside of that hockey game I went to.
How was that though?
It was good. I went to a San Jose Sharks game when they were good. Like they were like one of the best teams. Nice. And it was good. I enjoyed it. I wish there was hockey close to me, but I live in literally the middle of nowhere. So
you're PNW, right?
Yeah. I live in Washington.
Okay. Yeah, so Kraken's too far?
Yeah, they're a little too far. Other side.
Okay. Yeah, you're not going to get any hockey in Idaho.
No, you're not. Bro, the only thing you're getting in Idaho is Nazis.
Jesus, yeah.
I posted a picture on Twitter of like someone with a big sticker on their drum truck of like an old school like blackface picture like eating water, like the most racist character, like a blackface picture like eating watermelon, had like a big Confederate flag and stuff on it. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like I thought like in my life, the Aryan nation was kind of run out. There was like, what's his name? Butler. He'd been kind of run out when I was young. So the racism had dialed back. But I mean, since the Trump era, since Biden actually got elected, it's ramped up. Like it is bad.
I imagine too, like it's crazy to see the backlash to Biden.
Yeah.
Acting like Biden is some like radical socialist or something when he's this historically like very centrist or even right wing, almost like conservative figure.
Yeah.
And they react to him like he's this fucking dangerous radical.
any
For
other
even the few
country.
basic small things that he's done, like in terms of like student debt, the sort of half-assed version of student debt relief or the half-assed version of marijuana decriminalization that he's doing is just so upsetting to them, you know?
Yeah, in any other country, right, he would be like a conservative. Like he would just be right wing, straight up conservative.
Yeah.
I always say like it's crazy to me in America that we keep we let them, right? There is no pushback. But we just let like conservatives deem other conservatives like Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden, right, as like some bastion of leftist ideas. It's like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
what? And the one that are truly leftist, like Fetterman, right? To me, Fetterman is a good pick. Like Fetterman's a really cool guy. I like a lot of things. He's been a Bernie Dyer, ride or die since day one, and like even Fetterman has to somewhat bend to like electoral politics on things that like leftists are adamantly against. Like you can tell, like I just watched his interview where it was like, "Are you tough on crime?" And he was like, "Is that even a question?" It's like, he's forced to say things that I don't know the guy, so maybe that he believes in or doesn't believe in, but you can tell like he's not gonna give you like a whole fleshed out answer like a Ben Shapiro would, or like a Dr. Oz would give you some like, well, actually there's way too many criminals coming over the border that we need to actually execute the moment they show up here. And it's just insane to me that people like claiming, right wings always claim we've shifted to the right, but we just haven't. Like to the left. We've just done the opposite. We've actually shifted to the right. We've not shifted to the left at all. Like Joe Biden would never be a centrist in any other place in the world ever, like, or any other developed country. He would just not be a centrist.
Fetterman thing, like on that framing, the crime stuff, is something that the right has really gained traction with, and
the media has been helping them as well.
So the media, totally, absolutely, like the framing of like crime on the rise, like crime and
especially in places where they
cities.
elect like more progressive DAs and everything.
Yeah, but you saw that in San Francisco. That guy's out and crime's up. Like, so it's clearly not a 1-to-1, like whoever the prosecutor is, and you're not going to get the same sort of breathless coverage of whoever replaced him. And this type, like, it's bullshit, because if you look at the top 10 states with the highest murder rates, like 8 of them are Republican.
Yeah.
Like they're red states. So it's like, it's totally bullshit, this framing. Like the issue, if you're really worried about murders, the issue is gun control, but they don't want to talk about that. And they want to frame it as like sort of like prosecutorial, weakness or an approach to criminal justice or reform or defunding the police, despite nobody even fucking doing that. But another thing the media has been doing that's really frustrating in attacking Fetterman is if you saw that interview with NBC last night, all these reporters rushing out last night, like, oh, this is bad for Fetterman. He needs a voice to text translator or transcription service because of his stroke. Is he fit to serve? Oh, Pennsylvanians have a tough choice. It's like, I don't really care.
Yeah, like he could be deaf.
He answered the
and
questions.
It wouldn't matter, like
who fucking cares?
It was just like I kind of hate this term, but it was like the most ableist things. It was like, bro, like we have elected officials who are vampires. They've been there for 1,000 years, and you're getting mad because Fetterman likes subtitles. Listen, I speak English. I'm born speaking English, and when I watch like certain shows or movies, I have subtitles because sometimes I just can't. Or British shows. British people don't speak English. Okay, I have to have subtititles on. They're gonna say something, and sometimes they even say things in English, and the subtitles don't make it since they say some saying I've never heard, and I'm like, what does this mean? And I think that to blame his hearing is just so. It's like, oh, okay, like obviously all media in America is pretty right wing. Like there's no left wing. Like mainstream media, like even NBC, just going in about like, is he fit to serve because he had to have a text to speech or whatever, or he had to have closed captioning. It's like, yeah, he is, because when he's in office, they're going to provide. There's accessibility support in when he's doing senator things. There will be an interpreter. There'll be closed captioning for him, like, or he'll get a hearing aid. It's not going to be this big thing.
how many senators are like 90 fucking years old? They can barely hear to begin with.
Yeah.
There was a story a couple months ago that like dozens of them, like there's doctors in DC who are like confidentially admitting that like many of them have dementia. Like Feinstein specifically, her own staff is like, this person does not know where she is.
Yeah.
But it just, it speaks to this fundamental problem with mainstream journalism, not just in America or Canada, but like everywhere, where they just have to create this false sense of balance. And they see the situation where Fetterman is running in this campaign against this utterly fucking disaster of an opponent, Dr. Oz, this like dog killing fraud who doesn't even live in Pennsylvania. And he's just repeatedly getting owned over and over on social media and every single issue that comes up. So then of course the media has to step in and be like, well, we can't just like cover this campaign the way it's actually unfolding. We have to now go on the attack on Fetterman and try to create some false sense of balance or create this kind of fake horse race situation. And it seems like that's their duty, because they can't, if they were to just cover the race as it was going, they would be accused of having some kind of left-wing bias. So they preemptively shut that down by going after Fetterman for this random bullshit.
Yeah, it feels like the right is like kind of like dipping their toes in to see how far they can go, right? You had like Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene, like Lauren Boebert or whatever. You have like Ron DeSantis, but now they're getting like even crazier. You're having like Herschel Walker, right? And they're having like there's a like literal Nazi guy. I can't remember his name. Oh, he's from like Kentucky or something. Surprising. But there was also like the Democrat KKK guy. They're just like pushing the envelope or like the bar to be like, what can we get away with? Like, let's find the line of what people are willing to elect or how far our money goes. Like Dr. Oz is such a good example of that too. Like this guy doesn't even live in Pennsylvania, and he's like putting up a fight against Fetterman, who's like a diehard Pennsylvanian who like knows all, like he's in like the people, the community know him. Like he's like this big, also like strong man. Like he's exactly like what even right like conservatives want to see. They want to see a big strong man, like a big tall dude who looks like he doesn't give a shit, who like did vigilante justice, which they all get a hard on for. Like think about how much conservatives like froth over the idea of like Kyle Rittenhouse type shit. And the fact that they are trying so hard to push Oz against like a candidate that is probably gonna, I hope it looks like it, Fetterman's gonna win. But it's just insane to me. Like they're pushing the line. They're just trying to see what they can get away with.
Do you have any predictions for the midterms? We're 4 weeks out now. Polling in the Fetterman and Oz race is a little bit more separated than some of the other ones. You know, Mandela Barnes and Ron Johnson's pretty tight in Wisconsin. It looks like Nevada might go red. Club for Growth, I just saw, pumped like $1 million or $2 million in one day into that race and just negative ads. South or North Carolina is kind of close. Where do you think we're going to end up after midterms?
I think it's gonna be pretty close. I mean, it seems like the right testing their waters is kind of backfiring to some extent. I think I saw like it was either yesterday or the day before. I can't remember the article where it was like it looked like the Democrats had gained some ground, like they were big time down. Like they've been projected. I think they're still projected to lose. But I have faith. I don't know. I am a hope. I'm full of hopium. I think that it's a hopeful thing because I do think that Joe Biden, the marijuana thing wasn't much, but it's good for optics. And I also think that the Roe versus Wade thing was so damaging to Republicans. Incredibly. I think they underestimated how incredibly damaging it would be. Like even conservative family members of mine are pretty devastated. Like my grandmother, who she's a self-proclaimed Democrat, but let's be real, she's not. She's like a 1950s Democrat, like even she was like that. We're going back to the Stone Age, and it gives me hope. Seeing my grandparents are kind of my like barometer of how things are going, because they live like in a border town, right? And so they get bombarded by the worst local news, and like my grandfather's like really into politics, and so I kind of use them as my gauge, because depending on how conservative my grandpa is feeling gives me how much faith I have in the conservative party. And right now he's pretty much thinking that like there's way too many like crazies, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. He like hates them. He thinks that like the Herschel Walker. He's like, Herschel Walker is brain damaged. Like he shouldn't be running. Like not in like brain damage because of, well, I mean, he's literally brain damaged because of CTE, but because of everything that's been going on.
It does seem like they overplayed their hand with that quite a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely. The voter registration alone in the immediate aftermath of Dobbs, I think 46 states saw a huge uptick in voter registration. I think that's pretty telling. But now it's just getting people out to vote, having them understand that it might not be, because of attacks on voting, it might not be easy. It might not be a very quick in and out process. You might not be able to vote at home, but this really matters. And sure, like Biden sucks. Like I can't stand the guy, but like it's not going to get any better if he has, you know, a Republican Congress and ultimately loses in 2024. Like if you get a DeSantis and a Republican Congress in 24, things are going to get so much worse. And I understand the cynicism that a lot of young people feel. Like we've talked about that on this show a lot. And recently, a couple episodes ago, we talked about that with David Sirota, who made a really good point that, like, you know, a lot of people see voting as this like active personal political expression, and it's really not. And changing the way you see voting really helps, because you're able to shirk all these hangups that you might have about who you're voting for and why. Like, I don't really give a shit. Like, I don't want to live in a country where many states have completely outlawed abortion, and some are trying to make it criminal to even leave the state to get reproductive care. And there are Republicans in Congress calling for a national abortion ban. That's just one issue. On climate change, they're going to make it worse. If they have control, they're going to make it worse. And that cynicism only helps polluters. It only helps big banks. It only helps Wall Street, private equity firms, and the worst fucking people in the world. So it's not a personal act of political expression. It is one step of many to try to fight back against these things. And it's not just you check the box, you vote, you're done. It is a long, sustained process. So it goes beyond voting. It's about getting involved in organizations locally. It's getting involved in organizations nationally. It's joining your DSA. It's supporting progressive causes you believe in and mission-oriented organizations. It's all of the above. Voting is just one thing. So getting people out to vote is absolutely critical, and it doesn't just start and end there. And I think people who are cynical, like myself and like Rob, and probably to an extent you, Carter, like, I think we all understand why people are disillusioned with the system, but it's troubling that there are still races that should be locks for Democrats after Dobbs that are toss-ups. So what I'm banking on is Rob just bringing over boxes of illegal ballots again.
Yeah. We're bringing all the Social Security numbers.
Bring them from
if anyone needs one of those.
Do you think?
Hit my DMs.
Do you actually think they're going to run Biden again? Do you think?
I don't know if they have much choice.
If he's alive, yeah.
It's not like Kamala is going to get anyone excited.
I think Kamala is way too out of it. I guess my hopes and prayers are that someone appears, a knight in shining armor appears as a good alternative. Because Kamala is definitely not popular enough. It feels though like Gavin Newsom felt like he was making like some noise. You know what I mean? And as much as I think Gavin Newsom is just Joe Biden but younger, I don't know. I think I agree that like they're probably gonna run Biden if he's alive. It just feels like I wish for anybody else. But like you said, you just have to do what you can. Like it feels like you have no power or whatever. But doing what you can to like activate or tell people like to just vote. Like it doesn't. Even if you feel like if everyone who felt like they had no power actually voted, you might see like an ounce of change. Not gonna see a lot of change because we live in the electoral college and all of that. But you're gonna maybe see like the needle move, or you're gonna see at least conservatives back off, maybe let off the brakes, or opposite. Like I think the opposite is happening right now. I think conservatives are hammering down because COVID inspired a lot of people to realize like they value home life and like their family over work and like working till you die. That's why I think we had a lot of union movements right out of COVID. Not that it's over, but that it eased up. And I think that like a lot of, like you've seen the big anti-work movement and all of those, quiet quitting. Those things, I think, are a culmination of people realizing that the only power we have is like if we do something together. So like Starbucks are unionizing all over, and like there's like a Chipotle that unionized, and like the John Deere thing, and like Kellogg's and whatever. And hopefully people take that same power into like pressuring representatives. But when you saw that, like you guys, obviously you probably talk about this all the time, but like as we saw those rise in union, like the right wing has got like more and more insane with like unions lead to fascist, and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they're just going to, you're going to polarize as more people. I think more people in the last 2 years are openly calling themselves socialist than ever before in my life. I'm 27 years old. So, and since I can remember, since I was a kid, I've never met somebody to the last 2 years of my life that is like, yep, I'm a socialist. If you had said that when I was a kid, it's like, oh, you're a Nazi, or whatever. Yeah. And that gives me hope. That gives me hope. But obviously there's always going to be an equal opposite reaction, which is like, you have Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm a Christian fascist. You have Matt Walsh. I'm a theocratic fascist,
My dream scenario for America 2024, I got 3 words for you guys. Bernie Hillary rematch. Let's go. That's what I want to see.
Oh man.
Just for entertainment value alone, I think that would be
amazing.
The post would be immaculate. Yeah, absolutely.
If I just pray that Bernie runs again.
Yeah, I want that guy to retire just for his own health. Like, I feel so bad that he's still being 81. Like drug out there.
I admit that, like, I don't think I would ever be as excited about Bernie running again, but just for the content, and just because he makes some people so fucking mad, I think just for that reason, I think it would be.
I also think he's inspiring. I think I said this. The reason I became a leftist is because of Bernie Sanders. Like, I started to fall down, like, I wouldn't say alt-right, but like similar to the alt-right pipeline, right? Like I was browsing 4chan. Like I knew there was some things wrong. I was working like in oil, making a lot of money, but like having no life at all, 0 life. And I was like starting to like kind of, blame it on conspiracy, if you know what I mean, like JQ type stuff or adjacent, right? Great Replacement, whatever was the flavor of that time, like 2012 or whenever the first time Bernie ran was. And then I saw a Bernie Sanders ad that my friend on Facebook had shared because he was canvassing for Bernie. And I was like, oh, like other countries in the world have free healthcare? Oh, okay, like this is cool. And then I was like, okay, like I can get behind this, and more research. And then I became a nerd and like read a book by Marx, and I was like, okay, like this makes sense. Like
these guys were onto something.
Yeah, I was like, maybe it's not conspiracy or aliens or like chemtrails. It's actually just like capitalism, or like a grotesque exploitation.
Yeah, it do be like that. Yeah. Well, it's a good place to leave it, Carter. Thanks so much for joining us on the program today. It was wonderful to talk to you.
Yeah, it was super nice to talk to you guys. Thank you guys for inviting me.
So where can people find you and your content?
I stream almost every day at twitch.tv/Carter. I do political content usually in the morning, and then like more just like general like watching stuff. Obviously, like with as a leftist, I can't help it. I'm brain broken, so everything has a little bit of politics in it. And then I also am on Twitter at Carter for now, and that's where you can find me. Those are the best places.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you for listening to The Insurgents. Please remember to subscribe over at theinsurgents.substack.com. Find the podcast on all your favorite podcast apps, and please remember to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It's very helpful, and we appreciate it a lot. But please, again, don't mention Ken Klippenstein in the review. He is banned from the show. It's a lifetime ban, so please do not mention him in the review. And we'll be back later this week with more of the content that you know and love. Goodbye.